if something bothers you to the point where you look at yourself and you don't like what you see, okay, go to multiple surgeons and get their opinion. Think about it, sleep on it, pray on it, whatever you need to do. Don't make a decision for 6 to 12 months. And if by that time, if you're like, okay, this is something I really want to do, I really want to change this, then do it. But don't make a decision like, you know, it pops up in your head and within a month you're getting your surgery. That's probably going to be something that later on you might look back and be like, I wish I would have thought about it longer.
It's Sophia Franklin. You are listening to Sophia with an F, and the F is for phenomenal.
Maybe the most requested guest ever, especially recently, is here. And she also happens to be my best friend in the entire world, Fabiana Jones. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I feel so weird talking to you like I'm like interviewing you. Like I'm like, wait, this is my best friend since I was in diapers. But you posted a picture on Instagram. It was a picture of us side by side. And you talked about how people gave you a bunch of shit for looking older than me or something.
Oh, yes. People were calling me your mom.
Okay. People were, yes. Which I'm laughing. It's not funny. It's actually really rude. But I feel like
your mom is really pretty.
My mom is
she's stunning.
Really, yeah.
So,
she's really hot. But I just don't want to laugh if that actually hurt your feelings, because I laugh now when people say evil shit to me because I am so used to it. You know what I mean?
I understood that people were implying that I look a lot older than you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that I lost sleep over, but
Right.
Of course, it's never nice to hear something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to let those things get to me.
Yeah.
I think it was more so now looking back and seeing that, oh, I did look quite a bit different, and there was too much going on, and my journey with dissolving a lot and trying to reverse pretty much as I can.
Wow.
And I think the reason, like what I was experiencing when I posted that photo, was more feeling a little sad for my younger self and what I was experiencing at the time, that I felt the need to change so much about myself, and I was so unhappy with how I looked. My insecurities were severe.
Yeah.
To the point that I changed my body, I changed my face. I was angry. I was, considered more of like a mean girl. And I think that insecurities, if not controlled, can lead to negativity in your life.
And stuff that is not necessarily forever stuck with you, but kind of, because now you're trying to dissolve or take it back, right? And get back as much as you can to your natural self.
Yeah, and fortunately, a lot I was able to dissolve and reverse, but there are some things that will be stuck with me for the rest of my life, and I've had to accept that, especially now that I'm like very into my health and knowing that I made some decisions that could lead to complications down the road. One of the things that happened was I got my blood work done, and I have an overactive thyroid, and I do think that injecting myself with a foreign substance is what led to that. And so now I'm on surgery too. Actually, I'm 3 weeks post-op of trying to remove as much of the substance as I can. But because some of it was like injected into my skin, and the way that this surgeon explained is that like it's never fully going to be removed.
Okay.
And
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's extremely powerful and important, this conversation that we just jumped into right off the bat, because when you posted that and you were so raw and real about not maybe necessarily regretting it, because you don't live your life with regrets, but that line you just said, like looking at your younger self and just kind of like wanting to kind of like hug her and
Yeah.
I need to start doing that, like inner child work.
Yeah.
That's something I'm like starting to do in therapy. But so many people rushed into my DMs when you posted that. Have Fabby back on, like, because I think a lot of people are getting work done. And again, you've been on the show and we've talked about how we don't have any issue with it. I just got Botox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's...
Yeah. I'm not anti-surgery by any means.
Right. I just want to point that out.
Yes.
But it is so normalized now that everyone talks about it. Like 16-year-olds completely changing their faces.
Yeah.
And looking way older. You know what I mean?
I think that's the issue with social media right now, is that I actually recently posted about this as well, is we're seeing a lot of perfection. And that is where my journey with plastic surgery started. Was I had just moved to Vegas. I was 22 years old. It was the rise of the influencer. And you were seeing all of the perfectly manicured BBL bodies that were mostly using Facetune. And I thought that's actually how they look. And I look so different. What I see in the mirror, I will do whatever I need to do to have that. And it led down a long journey of doing things that ultimately I don't live my life like with regret, but I do regret some choices that I made. Yeah. And I think that what the advice that I give to people now is, if something bothers you to the point where you look at yourself and you don't like what you see, okay, go to multiple surgeons and get their opinion. Think about it, sleep on it, pray on it, whatever you need to do. Don't make a decision for 6 to 12 months. And if by that time, if you're like, okay, this is something I really want to do, I really want to change this, then do it. But don't make a decision like, you know, it pops up in your head and within a month you're getting your surgery. That's probably going to be something that later on you might look back and be like, I wish I would have thought about it longer. That's
Such good advice. Like, if you are uncomfortable with something, you should give it. I would say, actually, I don't want to speak on it because I haven't done, like that much, but I think 6 to 12 months. Yeah. Like, I would say a year. Well, actually, remember I almost got a forehead reduction. Yeah, I do remember that. They were going to have to cut, because I have a big forehead, cut open my scalp or my forehead, bring my scalp down and stitch it together. Yeah, that's gnarly. It's intense. But I was like, you know what? Like, whatever, let's just go for it. But I've always been one of those people where I'll take a lot of time to make a decision. Yes. We've always, like, growing up, like, you were always very impulsive, and I would just... Very impulsive. I'm recently experiencing that now with I'm getting tattoos again. It's like I moved on from the surgery and now I'm like, okay, what else could I do? What do you think it is? Like, it's just like a little thrill? The thrill, I mean, I think it's just a personality trait. Yeah. Yeah. But you've accepted your forehead now, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, some of the most beautiful women in the world have big foreheads. The hottest women in the world look like lizards, is what my friend said. Shout out Cole. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Like lizards? Maybe the eyes. Like, I don't know what he was saying, but I've accepted my forehead. I'll still try to, like, contour, or I'll still see a picture where I'm like, that's a little bit too much of, like, a 7 head. And so, like, yes, I accept it, but I still have insecurities around it. Yeah. But I'm happy I didn't get... I think it's learning to work with your insecurities and not let them overcome your entire life to the point where, you feel like you need to go get surgery to fix it. Unless it's, like, something... If you're, like, crying yourself to sleep, then okay, I get it. But if it's something that, of course, it's like I still have things that I see that I'm like, oh, I could do this to fix that. And I'm just quick. I'm like, Fabby, get that thought out of your head. We're not there anymore. Just chill out. Because there will always be something. Yes. Like, what was the first thing you got done? Like Botox or fillers or something? My boobs. Oh, your boobs. Oh, and I went with you to the consultation. Yeah. I remember you were like, smaller, smaller, smaller. And I was like, no, I want the biggest boobs. And now
I ended up getting them reduced, and then now I'm getting them removed next year. So I should have listened to you.
I was there, the voice of reason. I was like, Fabby, you're teeny tiny, but I get it because like you were also living in Vegas.
I know.
So that's like...
I was a product of my environment.
Mm-hmm.
I saw all of that was all that was around me.
Yeah.
Is the biggest lips, the extensions, the eyelashes, the tan, the boobs, the butt, the tiny dresses. So it makes sense that at an age, 22 years old, I was so young. And I came into this world and I was like, I want to fit in. I want to be like every other girl here. And now I know I would make different decisions being 32 years old. But at the time, I try not to be mad at myself because it's like I did the best that I could with the tools that I had at the time.
I agree 100%. And that's a whole other area that I've recently been working on a lot is catching myself, the amount of self-judgment.
Wow.
And just like not self-hatred, I don't hate myself, but just like
critical.
Yes, is so beyond.
I'm surprised. I always thought that was something I struggled with, and I always saw you as someone as like that I could go to because I thought you dealt with that well. That's something you're struggling with now?
I think in different areas, right?
Like, not about how you look so much.
I mean, I do sometimes, but not as much. Like, I think it shows up in other areas of my life.
Okay.
Where I'm like, what the fuck? I think with work a lot, I think.
Yeah, you have like a lot of pressure.
But when you got your boobs done, were you thinking like, oh, and then maybe later on I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this? Or did that just like gradually happen? Or were you not even thinking about that?
I think I had ideas of what I wanted to do once I got that first surgery. I just specifically remember seeing what was the term used? Something thick.
I don't know. Wait, what do you mean?
Like the skinny thick. With the tiny waist with okay, that look, that was what was trending at the time. And I have always been very petite. Like I'm a string bean. And all I wanted to do was have like the tiny waist with the butt and the thighs. Like that whole look. And I was like, I will do anything to get that. But the problem is that I don't look like that.
That's how your natural body doesn't. And that's a really good thing to point out, too. Is I think people think that plastic surgery will turn them into Kim Kardashian's body.
And that's not the case.
You have to work with what you've got.
I was delusional. I really thought that if I got the surgeries, I would look that way. And it took many rounds of doing things. Like with my lips, I kept getting filler thinking, oh, once I get enough, my lips will be like big and I'll have like Angelina Jolie lips. No, my lip shape isn't like that. They were never going to look like that way. It doesn't matter how much filler I put in. I ended up with migration all over and it just didn't look the way that I thought it was going to look. And that was a moment of, I have to work with what I have.
Yeah. And surgeons don't tell you this. Like when you go to consultations, like, your lips look this way and this is as much as we can enhance it. Like you're not, or are they basically like, yeah, let's see what we can do?
Everyone's different. So I do remember one injector finally was like, your lip shape is not that way. Like I showed her a photo on Instagram. I think some surgeons are just as delusional as I was. And then others are more realistic. Like you hear about doctors who will tell you, I'm not doing that because I don't think it's going to give you it's not the right fit. Then you hear about a surgeon who will do whatever it is that you want just like to make extra money.
Yeah. Skims, what can I tell ya? It really is just that good. I can't fight it. I can't deny it. All I can do is hop on board and share with the people I love, aka my family and you guys, the perfection that is Skims. Like Kim K just knows her shit. And she's really proved it with Skims. Every single item I have tried has been the best I've ever tried in that category. Like, whether it's underwear, loungewear, their famous t-shirt bras. Kimberly Kardashian, she just knows clothes, especially when it comes to the basics. My Skims cotton jersey t-shirt, probably the most worn item of clothing from my closet right now. The fit is insane. It snatches me right at the waist, and I mean, I've washed this thing over 100 times, but the stretch and the shape, it still stays. I have it in the color kyanite, which is this kind of earthy blue toned color, but really I need it in every goddamn color because it is a staple in my wardrobe. I can lounge in it, which I do all the fucking time, wear it to a recording, or I could pair it with a baggy pant and heels and a little purse and look like the cutest thing ever for a night out. So you guys, shop the Skims t-shirt shop at skims.com. Now available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X. If you haven't yet, be sure to let them know that I sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. It means a lot to me and helps me so much. And with that, love you, Sloots. So, I mean, that in itself is like kind of scary. You said you have a overactive thyroid and you think it's due to an injection. People are going to ask which injection or like what kind of substance.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I am a very open person, but I think there's stigma around the topic. And for whatever reason, women will gladly talk about how they have fake boobs. But when it comes to the butt, it's like these girls are taking it with them to their grave.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about the fake butt.
Right.
Why?
I have no idea.
There's like a stigma around it. Right?
I know. Huge stigma.
Yeah.
Huge
boobs
stigma.
have been accepted, fake boobs, because they're so
and
common.
And it's like, grab mine, and like, I just got them done.
Yeah.
And it's a celebratory thing. And then if you get your ass done, it's like,
don't even make a comment about it.
Yeah.
It's just a different, I don't know why there is
maybe
such
because it's new. Maybe because like the natural thing is being more embraced. I have no fucking idea.
It could be because it doesn't matter how much you work out, your boobs are never going to be bigger. But with your butt, you could put in the work and have it grow. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Something that I found to be true is my first time going on your show, I knew that people were going to attack me for the way that I looked. And my rationale was, be as honest as you can be, because when you're honest, it's not interesting to gossip, and there's nothing that people can really say to hurt your feelings because you're just laying it all out there. And that's why I've always been honest, because I see with people that I know who do try to hide it, and people talk shit.
Yes.
The more you try to hide, honesty is always the best route.
You've taught me that. Like, I feel like you've always kind of been on that page. Like, okay, I will say everything and put it out in the open. Come for me.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of took some of that from you, to be honest.
Looking back, I think it was the right way to go about things, because yes, I got some comments about how I looked like your mom, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
People really weren't attacking me much, and I would see like some comments, and then people would be like, yeah, Fabby already said that she does that.
Yeah.
Like, move along.
Yes.
So the surgery that right now I'm reversing is I got illegal silicone shots when I was 25 years old. And it was done in my apartment by a random woman who showed up with silicone and injected it.
She like drove from LA to Vegas, right?
Yes. She was in LA, and I paid thousands of dollars for this. At the time, it was so common. A lot of the women around me were all getting it done. I didn't think much of it. I just figured like, oh, like so-and-so did it, it must be safe, it must be fine. At the time, there wasn't a lot of information on the dangers of it. It wasn't until like I probably had it in for maybe a year or two that I started seeing articles and other people coming up about how it had caused sickness. And it kind of started out with I started getting shooting pains down my legs. My legs would turn numb. My skin would itch. It would burn.
Oh my God.
Yeah. When I really started to get scared is my skin started to discolor and I started to see like broken blood vessels all over my butt and like a purplish tint to my skin. And I was like, okay, something's going on. And I went and got blood work done. And that's when I was told that I had the overactive thyroid. That could be for many other reasons, but it also could be because of I have a foreign body in my I have a foreign object in my body, and my immune system is attacking that rather than dealing with everything else going on in my body, which is why I think that breast plant illness, I used to think that was like people just making shit up. I actually think it's true now. Because they believe that it's causing them to be sick because your body is fighting this object that's in there that's not supposed to be in there.
Like rejecting the foreign object.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And it can lower immune system, hair loss, fatigue, anxiety. There's so many symptoms. And I do think that's why that's such a common procedure now.
It's kind of crazy how... And America's like not even close to being one of the worst places, but like what they allow without like doing long-term studies, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the FDA is a scam. I don't believe in
the FDA.
I mean,
I don't either. It's big business.
I make my own decisions of what I think is safe to consume, and I don't care if something's FDA approved. I still think it could be poisonous, and I don't think I know.
Yes,
even as conspiracy theorists.
I don't think that's I don't think that's conspiracy theorists. Like the FDA's approved Skittles and Sour Patch and blah, blah, blah. Like that's horrible.
Yeah, there's a lot there that could be better.
Ooh, she's hinting at something that we'll talk about next time on our conspiracy episode. Okay. We need to talk about your Cheryl Strayed wild, and I'm referring to the book and then the movie that Reese Witherspoon plays Cheryl. You went on this like incredible hike alone. How long was it?
I was traveling alone for 3 weeks, but the hike with the trek was 5 days.
Okay, so walk me through that, because when you told me you were doing that, I was like, that's so fucking cool. And you only read about it, which also the fact that you didn't know about the book and the movie Wild by Cheryl Strayed when you did that. And then Fabby was telling me, oh yeah, and then I like came across it later because it like kind of spoke to me. I'm like, I thought that was the inspo for your trip.
So pretty much what happened was I was in Utah and I was there to ski. There was no snow. And I started panicking because I was like, okay, I was like ready to be outdoors every day. The vibe was like, hey, I'm gonna be skiing. And I started looking into what could I do right now so I could be outdoors. And I also knew that I was most likely going to be alone. So I looked up safe places to travel. And in Patagonia at the time, it was summertime. So it was like perfect time to travel, very safe. And the more I started looking into it, I was like, wait, this speaks to me. I think this is exactly what I need at the time. And I had already been on a few hiking trips, and I knew that was totally my vibe, like really what was making me happy. And yeah, I just decided to go on the trip. And a lot of people had very confused, surprised reactions. There was one specific text that I got from my ex.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say me, and I was going to be like, fuck.
No. And it was very much like, you're crazy to think that you can do this. He was like, you could barely do this one hike. Why do you think you could do that? Like, you should never be hiking alone. You're a woman. Pretty much just shitting on.
Why? Trying to control you from afar or what?
No, I think that he just didn't believe in me, to be honest. I don't think it was coming from a bad place, but we're still very good friends.
Mhm.
And I asked him, I was like, do you think that I'm crazy to do this? Because I initially was going to do the 9-day trek, and I decided to do the short version, which is the W instead of the O. Looking back now, after I did the W, I was pissed. Like, I definitely had
I could have
easily done the O. I held a little bit of resentment towards him because I was like, ugh, I let him talk me out of it, but at least I didn't let him or anyone else talk me out of the whole trip. Being on that trip and seeing what my body was capable of and was the most incredible, fulfilling experience I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow.
After I did the 5-day trek, and then after I did multiple other hikes that were 14 miles, 3,000 feet elevation gain. I hit the highest altitude I've ever been at when I was in the Atacama Desert. I had these moments of like, whoa, like I did that.
So what was your mental, like, coming off the trip? Like, did your confidence just skyrocket? Were you?
Yes.
Yeah?
I was buzzing. Another thing is, once I found nature, my insecurities were pretty much gone.
Okay.
I think it's because I found something that doesn't require me to be pretty. In my 20s, everything that I did required me to look a certain way. The work that I did, like working as a waitress, the atmosphere, everything that I've spoken about. I finally have something in my life that it does not matter what I look like. My face could be covered in acne. I could have whatever. It doesn't matter. And the mountains, nature accepts me just the way that I am. And coming back from that trip and realizing, like, you finally found your calling. Like, that's how I felt. Like, I found what I need in my life to be happy.
So, number one, if anyone ever tries to tell you no on something you want to do, take in what they're saying with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you believe in what you're doing, like, so many people will try to talk you out of shit.
Yeah.
And tell you no.
Yeah.
So I think even just that is huge.
I don't think anybody will try to talk me out again.
No. I'm surprised you even tried to, period. Because you're pretty stubborn and you will just fucking go for whatever the fuck you want. But I went over to your apartment, and this is related to the nature thing, and you already were very, like, I could see like a switch in you.
Yeah.
You were saying, I want to just sell all of my designer shit.
Yeah.
All the bags. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want to hike.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is like
Yeah.
kind of a total 180.
Like, who is this?
Yeah, but I support it. I love it. Where did that stem from? Like, what, like, made you do the change? Have that switch?
I don't know if it is directly from this, possibly placebo effect, but when I started noticing the changes is when I started microdosing psilocybin mushrooms.
Okay.
It's taking a very small amount every other day. Immediately, my anxiety gone. No more Xanax. But I've also thought about it. I stopped drinking when I started microdosing. One of the side effects of microdosing psilocybin mushrooms is that you don't feel the need to drink as much. Oh. So then I wondered, possibly, was the alcohol what was causing the anxiety? And because I cut back on drinking, it led to that. But the alcohol wouldn't be why all of a sudden I want to sell all my stuff and I want to be in the mountains. Right. I do think that the mushrooms played a big role. A moment where I realized, okay, something's different is I was in Utah last June, and every morning I would wake up and I would run downstairs, go into my mom's backyard, and I wanted my bare feet touching the grass. And that was what made me happy. I wanted to feel the grass. I would sit in it, and I was like, okay, this is new. Where is this coming from? Just not ever really been my personality to act that way. And from there, it led to, I actually don't want to use all like the fancy clothes and the bags that I've had for so long. I like used to worship that stuff. And it's just so funny. I had this moment because my past birthday, I was in Patagonia. And I wore the same outfit every single day. I was backpacking. I was traveling with my hiking backpack and a small, like, little duffel bag. My birthday, my 31st birthday, at the time I was dating somebody who was well off. And the gift that I wanted more than anything was a Birkin bag. I would never be caught dead with one of those now. I just wouldn't.
The new fucking Fabby.
Yeah.
That's like, you just did
a 180
in the span of a year.
Yes.
You went from, I want the Birkin bag, which is like the bag of all bags, to
I'm selling everything.
I wouldn't be caught dead with a Birkin. I think that's dope.
I'm so happy because I can't afford it. I'm not dating this guy anymore, and I don't have a job. I'm living off my savings. So I'm so grateful that I don't have any desire.
If he comes back, maybe the desire comes back.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think there were moments where I wasn't sure if I trusted myself to not fall back into old habits. I was like, maybe this is just a phase and I'm going to go back to being the way that I was. I think a year is long enough to realize this isn't a phase. This is who I am now.
Yeah. Were you microdosing the mushrooms? Well, you were microdosing the mushrooms, but were you also like having real trips on the mushrooms?
Yes, I had one where I took 2 grams, which is not a high dose. It's not a heroic dose, which is when you take like 4 or 5, and that's like when people see God or whatever. I didn't have that kind of experience, but it was a lot. And I was with the person that I was dating, and I remember I was just bawling my eyes out. And what I was crying is trying to forgive myself for my past, letting go of that, of just who I was as far as how materialistic I was, how judgmental I was, how mean I was to myself about how ugly I thought I was, and all the things that I did to my body, and I didn't, the amount of alcohol that I drank, that I was just didn't care about my life. And I cried probably for about an hour. And after that, that's when the changes like really started to pick up. And it was just like every single day I felt a little bit different. And it just gradually came to the point where I'm at now.
Did it have anything to do with years and years of just not being happy with yourself, that it was like you came to a point where you were like, I can't continue to live like this? Was there like an element of that at all? Or were you just kind of still doing you, and then the trip is really what brought that to the forefront?
I think that what I've been going through is forgiving myself for my past. And my whole thing now is loving myself and being nice to myself. And instead of being critical, which you've always known that I've been such a critical person, I'm just accepting things the way that they are. And that has been huge. Another time that this was a few years back, because I used to be really shy. I don't know if we were really in each other's lives that much, like during the time when I would go to a dinner, I wouldn't speak. This was when I was like 25, 26, 27. I would drink alcohol because that was the only way that I could be fun. I remember I did mushrooms, and I don't remember how much it was, but it was enough that I also had a crying episode. And what I was crying about is how sorry I felt for myself, because I thought I was stupid, and that's why I wouldn't speak at dinners, or I was just very critical of whether or not I should actually use my voice. now I talk too much. Now I am like the most opinionated person. And I don't know if it was that mushroom trip that led me to become the type of person now where I could speak for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So the reason I asked that is because I feel like I'm coming to a point in my life where I need something to change because I can't keep going how I'm going. Like, it's not working for me. I'm over it and I need a change. And I started looking into it. And at first I was going to do the Hoffman process. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it.
I was going to do that. And then I really started looking into it. And I thought about you. I thought about my dad's like been working on stuff. And Andrew Huberman, and you had me listen to that podcast with that doctor who works with mushrooms.
Psychedelics, yes.
Yeah, psychedelics. And then I was like, no, that's what I want to do. Like, I think that is, but you also know I'm terrified. So then, but I started looking into it and how they will do clinical trials and like have you laying on the couch and you're like in a hospital, and I'm like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And I started looking into it, and you can't just like grab, like there's not like a doctor that will just give you mushrooms and do that with you.
So I'm actually doing my first therapeutic session.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a high dose of mushroom. I thought about ayahuasca, but I heard ayahuasca is pretty intense. So I'm going to start off with the psilocybin mushrooms.
But it's not with a doctor. It's with more of a holistic,
shaman. Yeah, a guide. I think that you have to be careful because you hear about these horror stories about like women go in and do these therapy sessions with shamans and then they end up getting molested. Yeah. I'm going with somebody that a friend of mine has used her many times. She's also a woman, and she also specializes in a concern of mine. She has like years and years of experience. So no, she's not a doctor, a licensed doctor, but in her practice, she's like as good as it gets.
Yeah. And that's ultimately what I'm going to end up doing.
Well, I can let you know.
It's also the only way I can do it. And it's something that I really feel passionately about that I want to do.
Really? I'm so happy for you.
Beyond.
I do think that you'll find that it's very beneficial. I'm going to be doing it in Utah, so.
Oh, okay. So these shamans in Utah are just like everywhere.
Okay,
I guess it's very outdoorsy.
See, I was skeptical when my friend told me like, okay, she's in Utah. I was thinking, I'm like, okay, in Utah.
Same.
I'm like, why would somebody who's specializes in this be there? She traveled all over the world and learned how to use plant medicine in all these different countries and has sat in on hundreds of ceremonies.
So we need to stop hating on fucking Utah, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't think so, ma'am. Like, I don't.
I had the same thought.
Like, I'm going to fly you out here? Like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we need to stop hating on Utah. So Fabby and I are going to go trip and we will report back. When are you planning on doing it? Because I'm being serious. Like, I might.
My appointment is May 6th.
Okay, so that's right around the corner.
I'm going to a concert and there's a cacao ceremony there. It'll be my first time doing cacao.
Okay, I've done cacao.
Breath work. And then this artist, her voice is ethereal. Like my friend Alyssa she just went to her concert and I was like, hey, definitely want to go to that. And then I'm doing the psilocybin mushroom, I think 2 days later.
Okay. By yourself, right? With her. Like at your house, or like she has a spot?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because that's what I thought about. Like, I want a hospital that's at least 25-minute drive. I know I can't be in that headspace going into it.
It's okay.
I won't.
I'm scared too.
Really?
Very scared. That's why I haven't done it yet. I've been thinking about this for years. There's definitely resistance there. Every time that I do a psychedelic, there's resistance. I try to stop myself from fully giving in, from submitting. I've been told that this is totally normal and that the more that you become accustomed, the gradually you'll finally open up and I think it's more beneficial once you trust the medicine.
Yeah. And I'm getting like just more comfortable with the idea of it.
Have you done mushrooms?
Kind of, but like in a party setting, and I take a little tiny nibble and people are like, what the fuck? Like you're not going to feel that. And then I'll take like another bite and then I'll over drink.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared that I'm going to trip. So it's every time it's been, but I think I did feel it the last time I took it. When
I do mushrooms, I love the way that it feels, and I actually prefer not to drink at all. I used to do that as well. I would drink to kind of try to numb it so that in case it was like going to be a bad trip. Now I purposely don't drink so that I can fully feel the effects.
Well, maybe let's see what we get into tonight.
Maybe.
Who knows? Fabby, we have to do a part 2.
Definitely.
Because I'm like looking at this. Fabby sent like, you need to write a book, first of all. Because you sent over a list of all these things that I'm just like, I'm going to be using this for my own shit. Like, with or without you. But I love you so much. We're going to do a part 2 to this episode for sure. Yes. And thank you for coming. And where can they find you?
Fabby F Baby. Thank you,
everybody. And that's Fabby with a Y.
Fabby with a Y.
And I'm Sofia Franklin with a Y. Sofia with an F. Sloots, I'll talk to you next week.
Bye,
Recording
everyone.
from WTF Studios in Soho. Please subscribe. Love you. Bye.